One of the things that I think, again, we've talked about forever, but I'd love to get your experience on it and your insight is, the term omnichannel. Obviously, we've talked about multi-channel, we've talked about channel neutral, we've talked about omnichannel, variations of communicating. But when you hear omnichannel in the business, right, when you're talking to customers, what does it mean to you? And does it always align with what your customers think it is?
That's great. I didn't know you were going to ask me this. And this is one of my favorite topics because we love to gravitate to buzzwords in this industry and talk about things in theory long before I see them actually in practicality within our clients' deployment, right? Mm-hmm. So omnichannel to us, we define omnichannel as a fully integrated multi-communication channel approach to service support and sales. So for us, that is supporting whatever appropriate communication channels need to be in place based on our customers' consumer or our customers' customer base. And so that could include traditional voice and IVR, web chat, social media response management, self-service options, mobile app options. We consider multi-channel to be when many of those channels are being offered, but not fully integrated. So if you're running and supporting email and web chat and voice, but they're on 3 completely different systems without the consolidated reporting and analytics on the back end, we would call you multi-channel. And if you are in a fully integrated, cross-channel, data available, customer tracking and analytics scenario, we would call that omni-channel. And for us, this is a consumer-driven requirement. It is not optional because of cell phones and internet and technology today. The consumer is dictating how and when they want to communicate with you. And there is a plethora of research out there that supports if you do not provide the appropriate channel with the appropriate response rates and time, you are very likely losing business. So we try to help our clients get to that full, appropriate omni-channel state as is appropriate for their business today.
Do you see that the communication via multiple channels being driven, when you say by the consumer, right? The customer is demanding this. Do you see it in one sector or industry or even one group of individuals that may be driving this more than others? Or do you see it across the board where regardless of industry, regardless of the department you're working with, or even the person you're talking with, they're still demanding to be able to do beyond just voice?
It is across all verticals today. It may vary by business type, what channels of communication are most appropriate for you to open up, but it is not an option to not be multi-channeled or omni in some format today. And we work with small startup and 200 employee organizations all the way up to large global enterprise organizations with, 50,000, 100,000 employees. So there is a broad variance of adoption amongst our clients and partners, but it is not optional to be looking at omni and creating some sort of a strategy to get there. It might start with a multi-channel approach. And again, what channels you're deploying are not the same for every business. I think when people started talking about omni-channel, everybody went through web chat on their website, right? Half of them didn't turn it on or didn't know how to respond to it. But they're like, look at us, we have web chat now, right? And so that's not appropriate or required for every business type. So figuring out how your customers want to communicate with you is very specific by vertical and by business, in our opinion. And then clearly we do a lot of work in healthcare and financial services. So data privacy and HIPAA, also impact how some businesses can use different channels of communication as well.
Well, I'm glad you brought all that up, because I think when people talk about omnichannel at a high level, it's like, yeah, I turn it on. I just turn omnichannel on. I install omnichannel. And many times when people are first doing it, agents could be doing multiple channels at once, and they have to train differently. They have to learn whether or not they separate groups for just certain types of channels. Then there's other situations where in that one interaction, you have access to multiple channels. So maybe I send you an SMS message with a code to confirm who you are on your mobile phone. Then maybe I'm able to send you a follow-up email, and then maybe even a reminder, or I'm able to convert you from a web chat into a phone call in the same interaction without losing the data or without having to send you somewhere else. So depending on how you want to approach this, I can imagine that everything from the training, the technology limitations, and what they're trying to accomplish have to come into play. You don't just turn it on. And so that's an area I'm sure that you focus on. So do you have any insight or feedback you'd give to someone that says, hey, I just want omnichannel? It's not just turning it on and off, right?
No, and it's everything you listed and more, right? It's how you evaluate, not only, as I mentioned, what channels are really appropriate for the organization to just turn on, but then it's also the resources and staffing. If I had $1 for every time I said, just because I'm a good voice agent doesn't mean I'm a good web chat agent, I would be retiring. So there's that. Right? There's making sure that skill sets are appropriate from one channel to another on the human resource side. And then the other huge opportunity we see in helping organizations beyond the technology deployment and integration is in the KPI, or key performance indicator, and reporting and analytics of those channels, right? So just like from a traditional voice perspective, we have KPIs that we want to be monitoring around the activity of an agent or a group or the division or the contact center. And we have standards and averages that we expect from a performance perspective. That holds true in every other channel of communication. And so really helping organizations figure that out, like what is the appropriate number of chats that an agent can be simultaneously doing, right? We deployed web chat and everybody got excited 5-6 years ago. I don't know, I've been doing this a long time. And we said, oh, they can do multiple chats at a time. And, we were pushing agents to do 4 web chats and saying, oh my God, it's so much cheaper than voice because we can do 4-to-1. But the quality of that was a problem. Now on average, we're back down to maybe 2 chats at a time in most industries, right? So there's figuring those kind of performance management matrix and the reporting to manage those other channels as well as we do.